Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's bonus episode. There was a lot of stuff we had to look up in that last reading. All kinds of interesting stuff. Who wants to go first?
I will. So you all had no idea how many judges there were. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to look it up because I would love to know how many judges there were. And it provided a rather large spoiler because there are 12 judges. There are 12 judges and the final judge is Samson. So we're already to the last one, which is fascinating. Yeah.
What's the rest of this book then?
Yeah,
I don't know.
How many more chapters do we have left in
That's
the
a
book
good
of Judges?
question. Let's see. How many? Are there 20? Yeah, there's 21 chapters, so not that many.
Yeah, this
I
one
guess
is
it's
a little
still-
shorter, yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. That's
That's still
fascinating.
a good chunk of chapters dedicated just to one person.
I guess, unless we're gonna talk about some other stuff as well. But yeah, I guess so. There are 6 main judges and then 6 minor judges, which they totally gloss over. The main ones are Othniel, Ehud, Deborah, Gideon, Abimelech, Jephthah, and then Samson. And then the minor judges are Shagmar or Shamgar. That's it, Shamgar.
So the ShamWow, yeah, we talked about that. Yeah,
yes. Tola and Jair, Ibzan, Elon Musk, and Abdon. So
Okay,
that's it.
got it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So fascinating.
Well, yeah, so we have 3 episodes of Judges left, just by the way. Just for your records.
I just want to point out that there are also 12 tribes of Israel, and now there are 12 judges. So 12 seems to be a big number, I guess, in the Bible.
That's
Yeah.
true. Although I think we're going to be covering more judges even outside of the book of Judges.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, like we're going to get more of
We'll
these
see if that
regional
happens.
leaders who are going to show up and have some stories.
Cool.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, all right. I guess we're sort of starting our big final story, and then maybe we'll get some censuses or something at the end.
Oh,
Probably
God.
some annoying, boring crap at the end.
It's true. We've definitely gone too long with too much action. They got to balance it out at
for
some
sure.
point.
Yeah.
Well, do y'all want to learn about the god Chemosh?
Sure.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Chemosh, buddy.
Hey.
God of the Moabites. Yeah.
Nice.
So his name means destroyer or
Cool.
or
like Mars, bringer of war.
yes, or it might mean fish god as well.
See, I was thinking kind
nobody
of
knows.
like an elder god.
Oh.
Right? He's the destroyer, or like fish god, right?
destroyer
He
of
comes out of the
worlds.
water and yeah, exactly.
Oh, I like that. That's
Oh yeah, that's pretty Lovecraftian for sure. Now, fascinating stuff about Chemosh, let me tell you. There's actually, I think of all the other gods that we've looked up, I think there's the most archaeological information remaining about Chemosh. Yeah. Like in particular, there is like this big old, like huge, like upright stone tablet that has a lot of information about Chemosh carved into it that still exists. Which is really fascinating. So he was the king of the Moabites, possibly the Ammonites and Amorites as well. Now, on this tablet that still exists, the writer essentially references how they understand Chemosh's anger and why Chemosh's anger would be the thing that would allow the Moabites to fall to Israel, which is like very, very similar verbiage and language to the
God?
way that we talk about Yahweh. Yes.
Oh.
Yes. And it seems like there's a lot of evidence to kind of support that Chemosh was probably very, very similar to Yahweh, to those individual cultures in the way that they revered him and treated him. And
fascinating.
And expected
followed
him
his
to
words.
be angry and punish them if they didn't follow him, right?
Exactly.
All the
and stuff?
time, yeah.
Wow.
And yet they still
Exactly.
did bad things.
Yes.
in
So
the eyes of God.
almost like he was a proxy as well, like all very similar to Yahweh, but just, for a different culture.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting. That I definitely found some interesting articles about how, just kind of looking at general trends of Semitic gods and religions in the area around that time, having these kind of similarities, overlapping similarities. Now, Chemosh did enjoy a good old blood sacrifice.
Of course.
Every now and again,
Yeah. Who doesn't, though?
Like you do. Was definitely into that. And what's also interesting that they note around this time is that a lot of goddesses or local goddesses were becoming not just secondary, but often would be kind of like subsumed into the male figure of the god himself. So Ashtar or Ashtaroth, it gets a little bit fuzzy, but essentially like Ashtaroth was a separate god to Chemosh, where the Moabites also worshipped her, but then at some point they kind of became combined into one, where he was referred to as like Ashtar Chemosh or Chemosh Ashtar, until eventually she got subsumed into it was just Chemosh, which is something we've seen actually in a number of different cultures when it comes to goddess figures. We have seen a number of times of them kind of being combined with male figures and then eventually being subsumed by the male figures. Or sometimes the opposite happens as well, that a god or goddess figure starts out as one gender and becomes the other kind of over time. So that's fascinating to see that also happening here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Super interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh. Well, okay, so I looked up stuff about this daughter of Jephthah. And specifically, I was curious because it said that then there was a ritual where every year for 4 days, the women would mourn her every year, or mourn the loss of her virginity, or what however you phrase it. What's interesting about it is that in trying to look up whether this is still a thing, the short answer is not really. Like this isn't like a major Jewish holiday or anything like that that's still observed. However, there is a different holiday every year, which is on the 11th of Heshvan. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. One of the Hebrew months.
Okay.
That on the 11th of Heshvan is a festival of mourning for the death of Rachel, who died when she had Benjamin.
Interesting.
And also, according to some sources, is also marked as an occasion for mourning, quote, the exile of the Shekinah, which is like
which is what?
The feminine part of divinity.
Okay.
Which is, and I don't know if that's something that's kind of been added later or like when that aspect got added. I had a hard time finding good sources on that they're mostly just like in articles about like how to do this ceremony rather than like the history of it. So it was a little bit hard to find those. So maybe someone can send us some if they find them. But so what's interesting is, so the 11th of Heshvan happens sometime usually in October. So like the next one of these that we're going to get is going to be on October 29th of 2020.
Oh, wow. Right before Halloween.
Yeah, that's when we're going to get this next one. But apparently, in addition to this one, the date that has been suggested for when to have this mourning for Jephthah's daughter is the winter solstice, actually, which would put it more like Christmas time, which is also interesting. I don't know. I'd never heard about that. And it seems like it's not really a thing that's observed very much, but some people do. I found a whole thing of instructions of like lyrics
what are the instructions?
And choreography.
How are you supposed to celebrate this?
Well, this particular thing I found is like the whole description of a whole performance, where it's like, here's the passage that goes, or here's like a thing to read to go along with it, and then the performers come on stage to this chant, and it's got like a chant, and then it's like they go into a dance, and then you read this poem, and then the sopranos sing this part. And it goes on for pages and pages and pages. Like this is a whole thing apparently that
this is a whole Broadway production,
right? That someone has put together. This is by Alicia Ostriker, I think, is the one who wrote this article about it. I don't know if she's the one who created this work.
Well, I'm really fascinated. I want to know more about this. I mean, this whole like mourning for the exile of like this feminine aspect of God. To me, it sounds like what we get one night a year where we get to mourn misogyny. What's going on?
Mourn the fact that it exists. That it is a thing and has permeated our lives for years.
Yeah, I want to know more about that. So if anyone has any more resources or more information about that, please hit us up for sure.
Yeah, maybe like we could start trying to celebrate the holiday of mourning the rise of patriarchy on, in October every year. I don't know.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, I found out so this work with its words and choreography and stuff, I guess has been maybe set by different people, but there is a work of this as a cantata, which is composed by Moshe Budmore. So if you want to get your own music to put on your production of this ceremony, then that's a place you could go for it.
Sweet.
And lastly, I wanted to read the two of you that last bit of the account of Kramer and his wife. We didn't pick anyone to play the wife, did we?
No, not yet, but maybe read us this and we can think about it.
Okay, so I was looking at the message and was just cracking up trying to see this. So I'm going to go from the place where the angel comes back, right? So after he'd been gone and Manoah prayed and was like, let him come back and tell us how to raise our kid. So Manoah got up and followed his wife, came to the man. He said to him, "Are you the man who spoke to my wife?" He said, "I am." Manoah said, "So, period."
So, okay.
So, period. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. When what you say comes true, what do you have to tell us about this boy and his work? The angel of God said to Manoah, "Keep in mind everything I told the woman. Eat nothing that comes from the vine, drink no wine or beer." In case you didn't know what that meant, drink no wine or beer. Eat no ritually unclean foods. She's to observe everything I commanded her. Manoah said to the angel of God, "Please, stay with us a little longer. We'll prepare a meal for you, a young goat." God's angel said to Manoah, "Even if I stay, I won't eat your food. But
wow.
If you want to prepare a whole burnt offering for God, go ahead, offer it." Manoah had no idea that he was talking to the angel of God, because he's an idiot. Then,
yeah, exactly.
You couldn't tell from the
How can he
awesome
not know?
face. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then Manoah asked the angel of God, What's your name? When your words come true, we'd like to honor you." The angel of God said, "What's this? You ask for my name? You wouldn't understand.
God forbid.
You wouldn't understand. It's sheer wonder."
Jeez.
Dang.
So Manoah took the kid and the grain offering and sacrificed them on a rock altar to God, who works wonders. Just to clarify.
Cool.
As the flames leapt up from the altar to heaven, God's angel also ascended into the altar flames. When Manoah and his wife saw this, they fell face down on the ground. Manoah and his wife never saw the angel of God again. Only then did Manoah realize that this was God's angel.
Okay.
And only then, it's only when this guy jumps into the fire, literally,
And
that
then
you
ascends
realize.
to heaven. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good heavens.
boy.
That's lovely.
Well, I'm really excited to continue on and see, because I remember the story of Samson pretty well from being a kid, but I have not reread it since then, probably. Have you, Dedeker?
Oh, heavens no. Yeah, definitely. I remember it definitely a lot in Sunday school, but I've not read the text in many a moon.
Right. Yeah. I remember some very kind of 80s or 90s style, like VHS video reenactment that we watched. I'll have to see if I can find that for next week. But of the Samson story, where Samson is played by this very like hunky, long-haired blonde guy.
Definitely.
So I'll have to see if I can find that. Gosh, I don't even know. I'll have to start YouTubing and see if I can find it.
I love it. I'm very excited to see what happens with Samson and actually read it for the first time, because I just, it's a fairly well-known story, but I can't say that I actually know what happened.
Other than the Wonder Bread part.
Right.
Yeah, that he ate Wonder Bread, and that was cool.
It'll be interesting, Emily, after you know the story, to then be able to listen to that Regina Spektor song and see like what of this is her like artistic interpretation versus what just comes from the story.
Yeah, I'm assuming there's a lot of artistic interpretation, but that'll be fun to listen and read it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us for this bonus episode, and we will see you next week.